Welcome everybody to another episode of my podcast, and as you know, I'm always delighted, but super delighted, more so than ever, to have my brilliant mentor, I should say, person I've learned a hell of a lot from in terms of all things LinkedIn. If you've been hiding under a rock and you don't know Richard, then you need to get to know Richard. Richard is forefront at the thinking on all things LinkedIn and all things social selling, digital selling, modern selling, whatever we're calling it these days, but more importantly, absolute guru, no, not use the word guru, forgive me, sage in terms of the LinkedIn algorithm based on the independent research that he's done. He and the team have just released their latest findings. Some stuff is kind of obvious, some stuff not so obvious. So without further ado, I'll shut up. Richard, the mic is yours. Who, what, why, when, where, and can we beat the algorithm?
Wow, that was one of the best introductions I've ever got, until you mentioned Guru, which you corrected yourself, so that's
sorry.
Okay. No, thank you. I'm delighted to be back again. We did a podcast last year, which you said was a success. A lot of people are obviously looking to find more information about how LinkedIn is working, how LinkedIn can contribute to whatever they are doing on the platform. So yeah, this year I was really excited myself, more than the other years, to be able to publish the research. Can we beat the algorithm? I don't know if that should be a goal, to beat the algorithm, because if you say, can we beat the algorithm, it's almost like having a strategy aimed at beating the algorithm, which I don't think necessarily is a good idea. However, having some of the knowledge of the algorithm might improve the results of your content. And I think it would be a real shame if you or your company is making awesome content that just by how you put it out on LinkedIn, it doesn't bring you the results the content deserves, and you wanted to have. You want to create impact with your content. So just knowing about like 2, 3, 4 things about the algorithm will not do any harm, no?
I agree, and you can't beat the algorithm on any social platform, and the platform that shall remain nameless is obviously having its moments moments in court at the moment, literally.
Yeah.
So I agree, and we all know the usual suspects that are out there that are trying to beat the system for the sake of beating the system. And to your point, however, there are kind of is rules the right word? I don't know. There's some considerations to be given that when you're posting either from a company page or your personal page, that there are some considerations that if you don't do this could potentially impact the
Definitely.
versus if you do this, you're at least giving your content the best fighting chance to get the reach that you that you want. So what, and I've been through your report, I'll share it in the links at the end of this, wherever I do that. I can't do this yet. What have been the kind of the key highlights do you feel from last year to this year that people should be aware about in terms of what you've seen?
One of the things I noticed even after publishing the research, because obviously I went through all the results, I composed the research, and to me it seems like LinkedIn is responding to all the things we are doing in trying to manipulate the algorithm. So for example, we noticed that you yourself commenting first on your own post results in a penalty. Mm-hmm. You editing your post in the first hours results in a penalty. So those are the things people are doing. For example, with regards to external links, people say, okay, see the link in the first comment. So they comment there first because they want to manipulate or trigger the algorithm. Mm-hmm. The same, we publish a post, we edit it instantly, and we add a link because the algorithm is dumb enough not to see the link. Mm-hmm. So it looks that LinkedIn is like responding to some of the things we're trying to do in order to trick the algorithm. Another one, if on a company page you get likes, comments, which is always a good thing, from your own employees, it mm-hmm. results in less impact in the algorithm, in the increasement of views, than if you get external engagement. So it looks like LinkedIn knows that all the employee advocacy programs, all the marketeers, communication department telling their employees to like and engage on their own content it looks like LinkedIn now is saying, no, we want you to get content from your second and third or engagement from your second and third degree, because that's where the real value is.
So just pausing on that, that's an interesting one, because what was LinkedIn Elevate was obviously sunsetted and is now morphed into company pages in some shape or form. I've seen it at a micro level in terms of my world. I haven't seen it in anger at a macro level where you've got hundreds of thousands of employees per se. But I got the sense that that was designed to help the marketing team encourage employees to engage with the corporate content by surfacing it to them.
Is it? I seriously doubt that. Let's be honest. LinkedIn is Microsoft. Microsoft means big business. Yep. Means we would like to make billions of dollars via the platform. So in my opinion, if you facilitate employees to start with publishing content, which they get from the company page,
okay,
you are learning the people that it's very easy to publish yourself.
Yeah.
The more people publish content on LinkedIn, the bigger the value the platform has. Yeah. So in my opinion, it's not necessarily to spread a word of the company. Yeah. It's the underlying goal is to show people how easy it is to create content yourself, because the more people that create content, again, the bigger the marketing value of the platform is. Remind you that maybe because of homework, maybe because of the pandemic, but we are still at only 18.9% of the people on LinkedIn actively either publish content or hitting the like, comment, share button. So this means the vast majority, 80% of the people do not publish content, do not like, comment, share. And LinkedIn definitely wants to increase that number.
And bearing in mind there are now 774 plus million people on LinkedIn, that's
it's massive. It's massive
amount of people. That's an interesting perspective and angle I hadn't necessarily thought of. I guess the cynical view is actually the more people that publish, actually irrespective of how good the content is, it's just better in terms of eyeballs, engagement numbers, and all that kind of stuff, which they report in their quarterly report, Microsoft's quarterly earnings. They talk about increased engagement. We don't know from what though. They've never given us the base point, right?
yeah, that's true. No, I could have started the algorithm research with on the first page or second page a big minus 20%, because on average all the members have seen a decrease, or maybe you have felt it, or maybe you didn't know exactly what was going on, but we researched that on average, the people had 20% less views compared to last year. I've noticed it myself. I'm still increasing my views, but that's because I'm increasing my network. I get more connections, I get more followers. So it's evidently I get more views. But if you do the math, and if I would set back my network back to the level of last year, I would again also have the minus 15% of reach. So we could have started with minus 20% of reach. We didn't, because then it would maybe put the research in the wrong perspective. But there are all interesting things happening on LinkedIn. For example, when I used to do my trainings and try to explain to people what is going on in your timeline, in your feed, I always said, okay, look at the 3rd, the 8th, and the 15th post, because those are always promoted posts from companies. What LinkedIn has done without us knowing it, in May this year, they thought, okay, 3rd, 8th, 15th, let's make it 2nd, 6th, 10th, 14th, 18th. So now we see twice as much promoted posts in the timeline. The majority of LinkedIn people, they don't have a clue. They don't know this because maybe they're not scrolling, or they're just scrolling past the promoted post. But that is one of the reasons why we all get less reach, because LinkedIn is pushing more and more promoted posts in our timeline.
Which I think Microsoft's last quarterly earnings, they announced that LinkedIn, I think the first time's got to, I want to say $1 billion in advertising revenue, which then that makes sense. If you're forcing more eyeballs onto, on ads, then that makes sense. And I've certainly noticed a decrease in overall views, but I have my moments of oh God, I'm trying to beat the algorithm. Then you kind of take a step back and check yourself, and you think fundamentally, is what I'm doing generating the outcomes that I'm trying to achieve, the right views, the right connection request, the right business opportunity, which I can convert to revenue. That's where I always take that kind of that step back and just, check myself around this. This isn't necessarily about chasing the volume. And I've been viral once with my shower video. Never again. It was a pain in the backside if I'm honest. But the thing is, at least it proves it works. I still have people, mentioning it, even though that was 3-4 years ago now. Ironically, about employee advocacy. So for the seasoned LinkedIners listening to this, what are the key things that one needs to consider when crafting a post? And what is I think I recall a phrase you used last time. It's about, you've got a good presence. You want to make sure it's wrapped properly to kind of get the impact that you want. And I do want to also pick up with you on the link in the first comments piece as well. But what are kind of the basics that people need to get in place?
Well, because of like 80% of the people that do not like, they will never hit the like, comment, or share button. And LinkedIn researched this community of like lurkers or silent consumers, as I would like to call them. Mm-hmm. And 60% of them, so in terms of 800 million people, we're talking about almost 500 million people, they do consume a lot of content. So they scroll, they read, they click, but they just won't touch the engagement button. So what we have seen is, maybe because of that, people hitting the see more link in your post after the third sentence is a massive positive signal to the algorithm, because the silent community, that is the most important engagement button for them. I want to keep reading, see more, and LinkedIn unfolds the post and I can continue reading. So one of the things we all should consider is, how can I keep the people positively engaged as long as possible on my posts? So we're talking about long text posts, as long as it's relevant. We're talking about slide decks, which I have been doing. I've been doing a lot of carousel slide decks, because if people are engaged, every slide they click on your post. It's like a poll. I click on your post to see the next slide, so the views increase. Talking about videos, as long as I watch a video native on your profile or in the feed, I stay in your post. So keeping people engaged positively on your post is a must do. And roughly, I think it's in the research, I talk about the 6 ingredients of successful posting. So this is like a trigger in your first 3 lines for people to click on see more. Put some effort in the layout of your post, especially if you're going to make a long text post. You might want to use some different fonts. You might want to use some emoticons or some Unicode symbols to make it easy to read. Long text posts, I always advise minimum of 8 lines. The best spot is somewhere between 1,200 and 2,000 characters, which is a lot. Tag people, but only for the good reasons, not like just if you want to have their sincere opinion. Hashtags between 3 and 5. And always have a call to action. Always end with something that you like your community, your audience to do. Whether it's to follow your hashtag, whether it's to answer 2 or 3 questions you have at the bottom in order to spark the conversation. Okay,
so kind of that trigger question at the top of the post, the encourage someone to actually click on the see more, then consideration around the layout of the post. And I've seen people use kind of the emojis, emoticons really effectively as kind of the bullet points, because it kind of pops a little bit. There's the spacing piece, 1,600 to kind of 2,000 characters. We'll come to that bit in a minute. And then the call to action at the end. I'd say the call to action at the end, I'm shit at. I always forget to put follow hashtag digital last house. I'm like, oh, damn it. I forget to.
I work with, I don't know if you know the tool. Do you know the tool Text Expander, which just pops up? So I have a shortcut. It's just hashtag RVDB, which are my initials. So at the bottom, I just go like automatically, my brain goes hashtag RVDB and it pops up this sentence. If you want to see more about LinkedIn social selling, follow the hashtag blah, blah, blah. So I don't forget it. But it's not necessarily the hashtag. It's also, if I have, last week I had an article about the 5 trends on hybrid sales 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then my question is, what do you think of these 5 trends? Do you see for yourself or in your own company is 6th trend? Do you miss something? Just to spark the conversation in depth. And a lot of people, they forget it. They put something out, an opinion, an article, and then it just ends. So people might read it and think, okay, good one, and move on. But if you ask them questions and they're really engaged, they're going to give you your opinion, which grows your post eventually.
Lesson for me to do, and again, I'm guilty of that as well. So with that in mind, are we able to definitively? I have my view on this. I know that I have my view on this. The link in the first comments drives me freaking insane. Just put it in the body of the bloody post, because if you put it in the link in first comments and then you get lots of engagement on that post, that link
it's gone. It's gone.
And lost.
It's buried. Yeah. For me, it's one of the users' frustration. And I stumbled upon a research. It was a Greek marketing company. I can't find it. I didn't bookmark it. And they like proved already 3 years ago that if people need to click like 2 or 3 times more in order to find a link, they stop looking for it and they just move on. They go, okay, then I'm not going to read the article. So also, if people share a post, the comment is not included. So you're going to share a post of somebody else, and then it says, see the link in the first call, and there is no comment. So how stupid is that? So there are like a lot of reasons why you shouldn't do that. And the same for editing. I am on the same page with you, Alex. If you have something to share, if you want to include an external link, go ahead, but do it in the main body. Try to obey as much other algorithm rules, and then if the quality is good, you will get conversion. And back to what you said just before, I'm perfectly, on average, I have like 10,000 views if I make a regular post. I'm perfectly fine with 3,000 views on an external link post if it converts to business.
Yeah.
That's why I'm putting out content to convert to business. So sometimes it's okay to have less of views, because if it converts, it converts.
But that's the key thing, is the consistency around this. 10,000, 3,000, 1,000, whatever it might be. As long as you're consistent in the approach, then it's just that organic visibility that will start to happen. And the irony is, I get people commenting, or when I meet them in person, going, "Oh, I saw your video, or your barbecue video you did at the weekend.
Yeah,
you didn't like it, you didn't comment on it, but you obviously saw it, and it's exactly working, right?" And it sparks that conversation, which is why, from my perspective, whenever people ask me about the views, I'm like, well, the views are the views, right? It's the I keep going on about it. It's the quality of the view, and everybody who has a LinkedIn account, even the free account, when you post, you get that insight. I appreciate that a view is an eyeball, but at least is it the right companies in the right industry that your eyeballs are in, right?
Exactly. And to be honest, I recognize what you just said. I have received in the past months a lot of first messages from potential clients. I'm talking about like sales directors, marketing directors, who started their one-on-one message to me with, I have followed you for quite some while. You put out some interesting content, and we have a question where you might be. And I go and I say, you never liked, you never respond, you never come, but apparently you saw it. So that's a good thing, So it's not always about engagement; it's about conversion.
It's absolutely, and I get the key thing around this is and this I recognize is the hardest part, especially if you work for a corporate where I say this carefully, where there may be some rules that you feel you have to adhere to, but it's the what to publish, even if you're publishing and using corporate content. It's around, how do I publish that corporate content in a way that's not going to look like every other person, where it's just, here's a report, front page of the report, no context to it. Actually give at least, to your point, call to action of viewpoints and questions around it. But also, don't get disheartened if the first time you do that it fails, because we all had to start somewhere. You know, I always reflect on my hashtag Ask Alex videos. If I look back at some of the ones that I started out, 3-4 years ago, I was like, Jesus Christ, those are god awful in terms of what. But I went on a learning journey, right? And now
yeah. We all are, Alex, and the road is still bumpy.
Yeah.
You know, some people think, okay, this guy has like released 3 reports on the algorithm, so every post of him must go viral. It's not. I sometimes wonder, and I'm sometimes gutted by the effort I put in a post, and it doesn't work. For some reason, it's not working. People are not responding. It's not getting views. It's not getting engagement. It's not getting conversion. Okay, take your loss, move on, and next time you will do better. So, it's persistency, it's consistency, and also you can't learn without failure. So you need to try.
Absolutely. What's polls? I can't not have you on here and talk about polls.
Oh God,
seems to be and polls not in terms of people from Poland, but polls in terms of where you ask questions. I'm
as we speak, one of my next carousels will be about the strategical use of polls, because I strongly believe when used properly, strategically, there is a huge advantage. Because if I have a really intriguing question, and if I have 2 or 3 answer possibilities where I wrap subtly a buying signal, because if you make a poll, you can follow up, because you as an author, you can see all the people which answer did they give, and all the people that click on your sorry for that, on your buying signal, you can follow up. However, because everyone voting on a poll, every click on a poll is seen as a positive algorithm sign, polls are exploding at the moment.
I agree, and the thing is, it's the people are doing it for vanity purposes. They're chasing the algorithm. They're chasing the views, and that was the exact comment I put on your post. I didn't use it, didn't say it so eloquently in terms of the vernacular that you used, but I had that I sent you a message, that really bizarre response from somebody on there around, well, now I know that I'm not going to vote on any polls because I don't want people reaching out to me based on what I voted. And I was like, I looked at their title, I was like, well, that's a weird comment based on what you actually do.
No, so I see polls as a potential good conversation starter, but just like everyone, I've seen so many polls where I would go like, why the hell would you put out that on LinkedIn? You know, what are you putting on your sandwich this morning? Cheese or ham? Why? Why would you? And then I see that 12,000 people voted. So probably they have like hundreds of thousands views. And then the next message will be, do you want to be successful on LinkedIn? I'll show you how it's done. No, it's not. It's not converting. Why? No, So I have actually filed in a ticket and an ID to someone I know in San Francisco, LinkedIn San Francisco. We need to have an opt-out of polls. Just opt out of polls. I don't want to see any polls anymore in my timeline. That's it. I think that would be, people that want to use polls, people that want to vote on polls, go ahead. But I don't know. I do not want to see any polls anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I saw in Andy Foote's group the other day that someone's shared a thing you can now opt out of political discourse or political posts, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I'm on the same page with you. Polls can be used strategically with that buying signal. Provided you follow up, but don't do a poll for the sake of a poll just to try and get the views. What's your take on this creator mode and the creator economy that LinkedIn is evidently doubling down on? You've seen those of you who haven't seen it, they've created a creator fund available only to the US. I think it's $100 million, $25 million, $100 million, a lot of money for 100 people and what have you. So what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I think it's a shame that they start the pilot only in the US, because obviously it's a US based tool, but like Europe is one of the massive markets. And also don't forget about certain parts of South America, Asia. So I always go like, why the hell is it only US? Why can, because now we need to wait. And if it works in the US, they're going to like roll it out, probably with less money. So that was my first thing. Second, I'm really curious where this is going, paying people for creating engaging content. Because are you going to steer the direction of this content? We all know, for example, that when LinkedIn Live came and you applied being a LinkedIn consultant trainer, you were not allowed because you could not speak about anything that was LinkedIn related. So I'm really worrying that when money comes in, are they going to steer the direction, especially in this time we are living, with all the things going on in the world, all the like censorship on, all the things. So I don't know. For me, creator mode, I'm not talking about a program they have, but creator mode, the future, it's working. I have seen an increase of 8,000 followers in a bit more than 4 months. So my follower community is like booming, which for me is a good thing. I don't need to have necessarily 20,000 connections, but the more my community grows, the more reach I get, and the more potential clients will stumble upon my content. But I think creator mode only works if you're a regular content creator. So you cannot, I see people like, creator mode it doesn't work, and they produce content like 2 or 3 times a month. Obviously, it's not enough to engage your audience, or they create content that is only clickbait. There's no value. It's only like, I give you a tip, and for the rest you need to pay. So if you are a genuine content creator, if you have if you are an authority or a thought leader on 1 or 2 topics, and all your content is like centered around these topics, definitely you can build a community faster with creator mode enabled. If not, I always advise people turn it off, because it's not working if you're not a content creator.
And I've found that, and LinkedIn seems to have changed because I noticed recently that I wasn't getting an update on followers. I think what's going on now? All of a sudden, I'm now getting an update on your new followers and this and that. And to your point, I only want to be connected with the people that are going to add value to my network, and I can add value to their network. But I'm more than happy to people to follow if they get value from the post that I create, which is going to help them on their journey, but fundamentally aren't the target buyer that I want. And I've also had people reach out to me going, "Love your video on creator mode," and I'm like, I didn't even know whether that's still a thing, whether you're getting the 3 seconds, what have you. So I've got an idea to kind of do a new one for my creator mode.
Okay.
Those who aren't aware of what creator mode is, you can turn yourself to follow, and you get the hashtags you can talk about. And forgive me, it's the cover story. Everybody can have a cover story. Doesn't have to, and the cover story is you can have a 30-second video intro on your profile. So if you click on Richard's profile photo, you see it. If you click on my profile photo, you'll see the video. And again, for me, it's interesting to see where LinkedIn may go with video, because obviously stories are now dead. Kel Surprise. I know that Andy Foot's got a view on that. My gut tells me they're going to have to go down a quasi Instagram Reels, TikTok-esque style approach, because that's where, I'm not saying the crazy filters and music and all that kind of stuff, but the way that it's all curated and used, because their next buyer of LinkedIn services, be it at an individual level or a corporate level, that's their world. That's how these people communicate. And yes, we're going to get keyboard warriors going, LinkedIn's a business platform. Forgive me, it's not a business platform anymore. It's kind of whatever you want it to be. And the fact that, we've been talking about it, LinkedIn now has created a creator fund, which TikTok were the first to do. And now I think you can, Insta and Facebook are going down this route. We don't talk about that, obviously. But for me, it makes sense. I, for one, algorithm aside, I'm really excited what the next 10 years of kind of the landscape on LinkedIn looks like. And I'm pleased that I'm where I am in my journey, in my career, that we're kind of at that, the tipping point, that we grew up pre-internet, all of this. We've been through this entire journey and where it's all going. Also, as a parent, I want to understand what the hell world my kids are are going to have to grow up in. So creator mode, we touched on kind of cover story very briefly. We've touched on kind of the way that you need to wrap and consider your content. Is there anything else that you kind of seen since you published your research? Because the challenge, I guess, you have is the minute you published it, LinkedIn probably come along like 2-3 months later, make some tweaks and some changes. Is there anything else that you noticed?
It keeps us busy, so that's a good thing. Now, one thing, I did a post 2 weeks after releasing that. The team found another thing, which is more or less the same that the company page internal external engagement. They also found out that if I post something and it's liked or commented by a second or third degree, it has more impact in growing my post than a first degree, which would also, again, emphasize the importance of followers, because followers are not connected. They see your content, and if they comment like, it will grow your post more. So it seems that LinkedIn values the quality of your post, if not your network first degree connections, but the second, third degree says, this is interesting, because then there is no relationship, but based purely on this content piece, this is interesting. And I always teach people in my trainings, if you put out content and people start following you, because you can see who starts following you, and it's somebody that belongs to your decision makers or potential clients, reach out to them, connect them. But in terms of reach, that's maybe not the best thing to do, because if you connect, next time they like, it has less impact. So it's really a dynamic world, like the algorithm and how you need to respond to all the things that are happening there. And I think that's also maybe one of the lessons, as I said to you in the beginning. Try to understand what's happening in the algorithm. Try to pick out as many things that you can really implement. But in the end, it's all about quality content, know how to convert, know when to reach out, know when it's the right. So it's still intuition or expertise, because you need to reach out on the most relevant time and with the most relevant message. That still stays the same.
I think that's a really interesting choice of word there, intuition, because you and I, it's just baked in, we just know, right? It's just baked into, we don't even have to think about it in terms of the how, the what, because we know what we're looking for, like almost like make type sort of thing. And if I'm reflecting on a call that I was on previously with a colleague, working through Sales Navigator, working through account planning, talking about if you save leads, you then start to see what they do. And they were asking, well, what should it be, a comment? Should it be a like? And I said, well, fundamentally, it's up to you as to what you're comfortable with. But here's some consideration. If you know the person and it's a personal post and it's appropriate to do so, drop a comment or a like, as you would do in conversation. If it's somebody you know professionally, typically I tend to steer away from the personal posts. And if it's a corporate post, yes, comment, engage. If it's somebody that you don't know at all that you want to get to know, then think about the context in which this works. And you can see, this is a very intelligent individual, but you can see them wrestling with this concept in their head around, but I don't get it. And of course I have to check myself going, you've been doing this for the best part of as long as LinkedIn's been around. And it's that, I guess it's that subtlety over time, which you can only learn over time by actually doing the do, as I call it. Just start commenting on, liking even your own colleagues' posts as a startup of 10, just to kind of get you comfortable and see what's happening. Start to get the feedback. If you've got premium, you can start to see profile views. Then start to iterate from here. I think, back to the opening question, can you beat the algorithm? Everybody kind of looks at social media, and that's kind of the immediate thought, because we have this effing influencer world rammed down our throats and because of the other platforms. That's not what this is all about. Yes, you can have influence, but it can be in a micro community of 1,000 people, because if those 1,000 people are the only people that are ever going to buy what you do, then that's fine. So that's kind of the thing around all of this for me. Absolutely, it's the quality of the content that goes without saying. But I love that. It's the intuition, if I may then add intent. What is the end result that you want to happen by doing whatever the action it is that you are doing on LinkedIn.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. And another thing that it's not necessarily about the algorithm, but I always make sure, I don't know exact number. I think my network is now on 15,000 connections and plus 10,000 followers. But if people ask me, how do you manage a network of 15,000? I'm not. It's impossible to manage a network of 15,000. But in my opinion, it's also impossible to manage a network of 700 people. It's not possible. And I say I have an inner circle of, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 people. That's my inner circle. Those are my ambassadors, my peers. My strategy is aimed to stay connected. And I really mean connect, to stay on top of the news, to strengthen the relationship constantly with this 150, 200 people, because those are the ones that introduce me to new clients. Yeah. Those are the ones that keep me sharp, that inspire me with their posts, with their interviews, with all the content. And that is what some people forget, hug your ambassadors, stay on top of your ambassadors, engage with your ambassadors, because those are the people that bring you new business and will continue to do so if you are being nice to them.
That's just like life, right?
Exactly.
We're able to do this in the digital world. Richard, as ever, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. We will meet in person at some point.
Yeah.
I absolutely promise, and we will have a beer or two, or whatever your.
I'm a gin tonic guy. Gin tonic.
Ginebra e tonica.
Yes.
Over time, but I thank you so much for affording me the time and my audience to listen to your insight. It is brilliant. Where can people? I know it's a stupid question, but where can people find you if they want to reach out and learn more?
On TikTok? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Just on LinkedIn. Richard van der Blom. You cannot miss it. It's the one with the beard. And connect with me, follow me, and yeah.
If you're going to connect with Richard, please mention this podcast to prove you've actually listened to it. And I'll put the links to Richard's research and the hashtags that you can follow. But if you're not, I urge you to follow and engage with his posts and his thought leadership, because it really is bleeding edge stuff. And as I say, it's been a guiding light for me through my journey and continues to be so. So Richard, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for being on your show, Alex. Thank you.
And everyone else, if you want to be on the show, you know what to do. Hit me up, find me across all platforms, including TikTok. Otherwise, wherever you are in the world, I will see you